Welcome to Alberta Conservation Association's Harvest Your Own podcast, the resource for everything hunting, navigating through the field, the butcher shop, and the kitchen. Life is all about great food. Let's get started.
Welcome to the podcast. I'm your host, Brad Fenson, an avid outdoor enthusiast who has worked as a freelance journalist, photographer, and public speaker for over 3 decades. I have hunted, fished, and foraged all my life and hope to share my passion for the outdoors. Along the way, I want to encourage everyone to harvest wild proteins and enjoy the satisfaction of providing the next meal for your family. Our goal is to educate, entertain, and inspire individuals to get outdoors and create a connection between food, health, and your future meals. Welcome to Harvest Your Own.
I'm so excited.
This week, I want to welcome Emily Lamb. And I'm not sure if I can find all the right words to describe her. Hunter, I've seen angler photos lately, brown trout and different things in the streams. Rancher, you just got a new bull on the old, I don't know what you call it, the Angus farm. And
yeah, sure.
Dog trainer and lover, definite. Wildlife hazer, wild game butcher, processor, teacher, and most importantly, a hunting mentor. How's that for covering the bases?
That's pretty good. And you didn't use any swear words. So that's usually people don't get away with that.
This is a family show, so I've given you some description and tried to tell our guests exactly who you are, but give us a little bit of background on Emily Lamb.
Sure. So it's like, I'll try and make it not a very long story. So I grew up in a farming town. I grew up on a farm, but my parents, like my dad or mom, didn't hunt or anything like that. So I kind of was aware of processing and stuff like that, but not, it was cows and all the things that we get from the store, right? So I was actually pretty adamantly against hunting and trapping at first. And I went to school. I always knew I wanted to do something with wildlife, so I thought maybe a vet or something like that. And eventually I got an internship with a wildlife rescue. And I kind of started to observe some interesting things there.
Right.
And so just some different attitudes that were, kind of started to get me thinking. And I had 2 lynx kittens that I had to release, and they were kind of my project. And so I was asking people about them. No one really knew a lot about where to take them. And all my biologist friends kept saying, go to the Alberta Trappers Association, right? So I was like, those guys are just gonna catch the lynx and make, and so I avoided it, right? And then eventually I ended up having to call them, and they sent down Bill Abercrombie, who's actually the president now, to chat with me. And he was just really different than anyone I had encountered. He was really well-spoken. He had a super intimate knowledge of wildlife, which I
He really does.
He really does, yeah. And so I was like, yeah, you know what? I'm gonna dive into this a bit. So I asked if I could come out with him. My internship was ending, and said, why don't I come out and trap? And kind of thinking I'm gonna go undercover and expose these trappers for who they are. And I went out with him for the day, and it just changed my life forever. Everything I saw, he related in such a different way than I had encountered, right? So I ended up working for him for 7 years.
Wow.
Yeah, for a long time. I actually trapped before I ever hunted or anything like that, and started kind of hanging out with more outdoors people and getting into hunting. Started getting into waterfowl just because I love the variety, right? I love animals, and so when you love animals, the ducks are the coolest, right? Because there's so many and
more opportunity.
100%, right? Started working the dogs, and then as soon as I started working with dogs hunting, that was when things just really started to click. I just loved, I could go on a hunt and not get anything, right? But as long as I was with the dog, then it was an awesome hunt, right? It was just so nice to go out, and I just felt more confident outdoors. And so I started working for Delta Waterfowl as the director of Western Canada, regional director of Western Canada. And so again, just started getting really into the whole dog thing, and then super into mentorship as a more structured thing, something that, people put out there, and it's safe and it's done well. And Delta was really good at that. And so, kind of this all sort of amalgamated, and I, bought a farm a few years ago. So started to get food from there. And it seems like it's all come to there's like a better word than come to a head, because that always makes me think of pimples.
It sounds yeah, there you go. It sounds like you take giant steps in life, like from going to expose trappers for who they are. And they're going to get the lynx kittens to being a trapper for 7 years, working with Bill, working in the industry, working for Delta Waterfowl, a great organization that are spokesmen for hunters, advocates,
100%.
Run great programs. And obviously that's one of the things we're going to talk about lots today is the mentorship program, because with your background coming from a family that really didn't hunt or do anything, you were never exposed to it.
Mm-hmm.
You've really done all of this on your own accord. You had to learn from ground zero and move up.
Yeah, and so I think one thing that, I'm not any different than anyone else, right? If anything, I'm just like mouthy and outgoing. And so people, I'll walk up to someone like Bill and be like, teach me how to trap, right? But not everybody has that confidence. And I would say even me being from a farm or something like that, I'm more confident than the normal person, right? And it's really tough because we wildlife and going outside and hunting and fishing especially, they're very treasured things, and so we want to keep them private, right? We want to
I can see that in a lot of ways.
I love taking people out, but do I love seeing someone in my fishing spot? No, I don't love it, right? But at the same time, we have to admit to ourselves that we live in a culture where 90% of the people are not connected with where their food comes from, and that's not anyone's fault. And here's the thing that we have to realize. I spent a lot of years really bitter about, obviously as a trapper, we're the people who get dumped on the most, right? People can get on board with hunting, but unless you really understand trapping, it's a tough one for people, right?
Absolutely.
And so I was always really angry at the public. I'd always have to explain myself. But after a while, I just realized that if I was ever willing to have a good conversation with someone, everyone was willing to talk about it. And I started to realize that, hey, this isn't anyone's fault. It's not someone's fault that they grew up in the city and they never got the opportunity to go out and do anything like that, right? And so that's kind of where the idea for Canis Outdoors came from. Is I love that there's mentored hunts, and I love that we have Harvest Your Own and ACA and all these awesome places that help people get further into the outdoors. But there's got to be something that's the step between where someone doesn't know anything and then they're a hunter, right?
Correct.
Someone has to teach you how to start a fire. Someone has to teach you how to back up a trailer, all super simple stuff like that. And it's not super glamorous, but lucky for me, I'm not super glamorous. So that's kind of where I'm hanging my hat. I just really want to pass on just this super simple knowledge to anybody. And I know that I might get in trouble for that, because, people will be like, we don't want all those people out in the woods, right? But we're at a point where we got to start,
We're spoiled. if we went back to the 1980s, we had 86,000 waterfowl hunters. We have 17,000 today.
Exactly.
By standards in North America, we don't have any hunting pressure, and people need to learn how to share. Albertans are just spoiled.
It's insane how spoiled we are. When you go down to the state, you go down to Louisiana and talk to someone about how, no one in Alberta really bird hunts, and they're like, what?
Right.
What?
And it's foreign to them that the fact that it's illegal to charge for access or pay for access, because you don't get on property in a lot of states unless you're buying access, and it's expensive. Like a duck lease, you need a couple people to go in, because it's going to run $8,000 to $16,000 for 100%. A very small piece of land that you can hunt once or twice a week if you want any birds to continue coming back there. So
we're so lucky. Yeah. I did a hunt on the Salt Lake for green-winged teal,
right? On the mud floods.
Yeah. Oh my God, it was so fun. But we're talking to guys there, and they're like, yeah, the cheap club here is 10G a year, and it's like, man, in Alberta you can buy 6 decoys, and a dinghy to go pick them up, and you can duck
right. And that's a great point, because anyone wanting to get into waterfowl hunting, you nailed it. 6 decoys and a pair of waders, and off you go. But the average Alberta waterfowl hunter doesn't own a pair of waders, because they hunt stubble fields. We're spoiled. We have, a pea field or a barley field with 5,000 to 10,000 mallards coming in. You can go out in your running shoes most days and shoot a limit of ducks and be out of there by 9 a.m. and go for breakfast with your hunting buddies, which is great. But
You know how people talk about like the good old days, like we wish we would have known when
Right.
it was the good old days? That's now.
I say the
Just
same thing.
For anyone that's a waterfowl hunter, the good old days is right now.
Yes. I
So
mean,
hunt more.
yeah, our pintail limits are 8 birds, which we haven't
Which
seen for
is
years.
so good.
Isn't it? I just made some pate. I did pintail and cashew pate, and it turned out wonderful. I'll have to give you a little taste of that when we're
That'd
done.
be good. I'd be down.
But, sandhill cranes, I say the same about snow geese. 50 a day, no possession limit. We're spoiled. It is the good old days. Right now, we're living it.
100%.
Yep, and I agree with you. No better time to take up hunting if you were ever interested. You started from ground zero. What's your advice to somebody that's listening that's like, wow, I'd really like to try it. I don't know where to start. I don't know how I'm going to react to it. Where do they get going? Where do they get information? How do they get started? How do they turn a brainwave into body function and get out there and make it happen?
So, like, I mean, there's different avenues all over, but I mean, in Alberta, again, we're crazy lucky because first of all, we have the Alberta Conservation Association, right?
Yep.
And they're doing mentored hunts. AHIA has a mentored hunt program, so Alberta Hunter Education Instructors Association.
That's right. Yeah.
Man, nailed it. And I mean, they offer hunts to people for free, right? And
Yes.
so there's a lot of, I mean, Delta, your local Delta waterfowl chapter, I think we got maybe 5 in Alberta right now. They're doing free mentored hunts, free mentored waterfowl hunts. So there's like, I mean, once you know where to go, my biggest piece of advice would be like, you can. That's it. You can do it. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, so many people, I remember trying to figure out like permissions and what was Crown land and where to find it and when, and yeah, it sucks. Like, it's hard. Don't get me wrong. It is hard. But like, anybody can do it. Anybody can do it. And
Right.
like, I mean, you know people who are doing this, I'm sure.
And I don't think it's that hard. It's just that there's so much on the learning curve, but you don't have to know it all the first day that you go out.
Yeah.
And, the best thing, if you're thinking about getting started, the one thing I tell people is you can go to Harvest Your Own because they have lots of articles and ideas and information on how to get started and where to get courses. And I'll just give you some information on how to get there.
This podcast is produced for Harvest Your Own, a program dedicated to those who want to reconnect with food and health through their experiences outdoors. HarvestYourOwn.ca is a resource for individuals to learn more about hunting and the outdoors. There's information to get you started and ensure that your compass stays pointed in the right direction to be successful. Where's your next meal coming from?
Yeah, I love the line of that, where's your next meal coming from? Because around our place, it's definitely out of a jar or the freezer or something that we've put up over the year, which is a great way to do it. You talked about different groups that have mentorship programs, AHIA, Delta. Most of them have information on their website.
Yeah.
You can go there. Of course, Canis is your personal baby where you can really personalize mentorship and education. And, I know a little bit about it, but maybe you could just tell us more about whether there's a group of women somewhere in a community of Alberta or someone's got a bunch of youth that want to get involved. How could that be a benefit to them?
Yeah, 100%. So basically what we're trying to do at Canis is make the outdoors super accessible to everybody. Regardless of, and trying to find that connection. So that's why, we use the dogs a lot because people connect so much with dogs and being outdoors with dogs, right? So whether it's that someone wants to be outdoors with the dog more, go hiking, whether it's someone wants to camp more, whether it's someone's into foraging, right? We really are trying to just be that first step. So the theory behind Canis is that I had made all of these connections kind of all over North America. And when I started thinking about it, I started thinking like, hey, I'd ask my good friend Justine in Manitoba and say, Justine, is there a little skill that that you could take a 5-minute video of and show it to me, right? And so the really nice thing about Canis is that we have a network that's always growing of people that want to contribute, right? So I could say that, sure, I can offer a butcher course or I can offer a foraging course, right? Maybe I don't know how to do a whole bunch of stuff for catfishing, right? But then we've got Justine in Manitoba. She does, right? So we have information everywhere, all over Western Canada, and we can kind of cater it to whatever somebody needs. If you have maybe a Boy Scout crew, something like that, that they want to learn, safe camping basics, something like that. We have the ability to do that with, just all the people that, I've met, honestly, in probably over 15 years in the industry, right?
Yeah, it's a huge network, really.
100%. And the nice thing about Alberta especially is that you'll find that there's no shortage of people or organizations willing to pass knowledge on if they don't have it. Like we were just having a conversation with the Minister of Environment, and I was talking about the environmental side of Canis, which is, to pay the bills. We do a lot of environmental work with the dogs, so surveys, hazing, stuff like that. And he's like, oh man, our guys don't really do that. Well, we're going to give them your number. And, the ACA is going to direct you to Delta if they don't have a mentored hunt going on. They'll direct you to someone that can. That's the nice thing about Alberta is I find that between connections, there's not a lot of ego, which is what we need, right? I mean, ego is the killer of it all, right? And I would also say, like, I direct people to Facebook. Facebook's a super good tool, but I mean, obviously take it with a grain of salt, right?
Social media can be very educational,
for sure,
informative, productive, but you do have to read through the lines with different posts and different people, and there is a lot of good information out there. We should just tell everyone what Canis is and how to find it.
So you can look us up at Canis Outdoors on YouTube or on Instagram and subscribe there. And then if you have environmental issues and you want to chat with me about them, we do like predator management plans, surveys, hazing with the dogs, and you can just call me directly.
Right, and that's Canis, C-A-N-I-S.
C-A-N-I-S.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's easy to remember. And you're also on social media.
Yeah. So, at Canis Outdoors on YouTube and Instagram.
Right. So it's interesting because you cover such a wide swath in the outdoors that you can even deliver to the seasoned hunters in Alberta that are missing certain pieces of education in their knowledge or what they do. And where I'm going with this is you've actually taught butchering classes.
Yeah.
Where, if you want to learn how to cut up a moose or a deer and what your different roasts and steaks and everything are and how to trim that silver out of them, debone them properly, how to package them for the freezer so they'll last more than a year, you do that.
Yeah, 100%. And the awesome part about the butcher courses that I was not expecting, and like, don't get me wrong, like I taught the Alberta Trappers course when I was with the ATA on the board, and
right.
And there's a little bit of hesitation going into a course where there are people recertifying that have been trapping for like 50 years, and then like here's 20-something-year-old Emily, right? But the butcher course, the first one I ever taught, there was probably 3 guys in there that were like very avid hunters, and again, like I was like, oh God, like I'm gonna get ripped apart here. Like they're gonna, and it was just awesome because they're like, no, like, yeah, we hunt, but we always take it to the butcher, right? And then we were thinking, why do we take it to the butcher? And we just wanted to learn, and they left and they're like, yeah, thanks so much. Like we learned. I mean, they could probably teach me about hunting, right? And that's the thing. That's where, the whole no ego thing comes in, is as soon as you set that aside, it doesn't matter who you're learning from, right? As long as you're learning something.
Right. And I never see you as having an ego. You just described yourself as being mouthy and stuff, but I find you more like bubbly, outgoing, and anxious to help people. Anyone that you can, you would step up to help them enjoy the outdoors in new ways, or to explore new ways that they haven't even thought about.
100%. And that's first of all, I just like learning things, right? I mean, I don't have kids. I'm pretty boring. I don't have a lot to do in the day, so I don't learn things, right?
I wouldn't say that. I saw you got a new Angus bull on the ranch this week.
Yeah, so he's gone.
Oh.
There were some maybe more attractive ladies across the road.
Oh,
so
yes.
That's a situation I need to deal with.
That's another story
So
altogether.
here's the thing. Why I have no ego is like, I'm not actually that good at most of this stuff, like ranching. Lost my bull, not that good at it. But, like I can pass on a few tips, right?
Right. But I guess, we talk in jest because I know you're very good at what you do, and working for Delta, they were very pleased with your work, and I know people that you interacted with in the field that wish you were back helping. But the things you don't know, you have your community. Canis is a community.
100%.
And anyone that wants to learn from you can become part of that community.
And anyone that wants to teach. And like
right.
I mean, just today, because we were at the waterfowl warm-up today and, was on Facebook or something, a lady that's a dog trainer texted me and was like, hey, like I would just love to, contribute something.
Right.
And like, that's what we're looking for. I don't want to be on camera all the time, And so I want to be able to help people with anything that they ask. And if it's not me that can help them, I want to be able to tell them who can, right? And so I just want to, I mean, we're in our infancy, don't get me wrong. If you go to our Canis Outdoors Instagram page, you're going to be like, this girl's only got 100 and something followers, you know? So it's a small idea, but I think it could be huge.
It's actually a huge idea that is in its
small.
grassroots,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
it
exactly.
it can only go up. And I mean, this is, we're talking about field to table experience, and it covers a lot of ground. You know, are we talking about deer or moose or waterfowl or pheasants or all the different opportunities we have in Alberta? Not only how to get started and pick a gun and pick the right ammo, how to clean it, how to prepare it, how to eat it. You know, all those things are come into play. So somebody out there is probably listening and they're like, man, I could teach someone how to use a shotgun properly.
100%.
And that's, you're not just there to teach, you're looking for people to come out and provide outreach with their knowledge and join you in celebrating the outdoors.
Yeah, absolutely.
Really, that's what it is. It's, I don't know how the acronym works, Canis, but it really means celebrate the outdoors.
Yeah, 100%. It's just, I mean, at the end of every video, I always say, see outside, because, like, yeah, the end result of the way that things are going right now is that, you know, and it's happening now, right? I mean, as a landowner, I mean, you as a hunter, there's a ton of stuff going on that is hard for us to swallow, you know, because we have this connection and other people don't, and we just can't understand why someone would vote that way or decide that way.
That's
or just,
true.
You know, and if we don't decide to make the outdoors a part of every single person's life, the only end to this is not very good for us, you know?
Right.
So it's self-serving for me, right? I want to be able to make sure that, like, when people vote, the outdoors is on the forefront of their mind, you know? And we have to get out there and make sure that happens.
That's really important to me too. Not everybody has to be a hunter, but I want them to understand it and accept it. It's like, you know, some people say, I don't understand why people golf and take up habitat with grass that's fertilized and do this. That's their thing. You got to understand it. Appreciate their goals and their objectives. To me, I want people to understand that I'm a hunter. I like to provide my own food. We enjoy eating it. And whenever I get a chance to cook for people that aren't hunters, I like to try to influence them. You don't have to be a hunter, but understand why it's so important to me. Just try this. You know, we did that today. We cooked some sandhill crane, and I had some bulgogi duck tacos and some goose pate, and there were some people there that, I don't want to try that. I don't eat that stuff. And their friends tried it. They came back and tried a bite, and it was like, whoa, I didn't think duck could taste like that. So people that aren't necessarily hunters can play a very big role in terms of how society accepts us going into the future. And I think where you're coming from with Canis and the people that you're working with, it's really crucial because you, again, have such a wide variety of people to reach out, which means you have a broad audience to influence.
100%. And I mean, like you said, some of the people that we're working with are not hunters, right? Like we've got people who are dog trainers or people that have distilleries and breweries,
rehabilitating or lynx.
100%, right? You know, farms. You know,
Yep.
like there's just it's all connected, right? And it's really, we see it so easily, right? And we forget that
Right.
it's not easy for everyone to see, and we have to figure out what's going to connect people with the outdoors and just get them out there. I'm not saying everybody's going to, I mean, I know hunters are listening. I'm not saying everyone's going to go out and herd out and kill all the ducks, right? Maybe it's just that a few people go walk their dogs a little bit more. Maybe somebody makes some cookies and they put dandelion petals in them and they feel great, right?
Yeah. And people don't understand hunting, but for us, isn't it almost foreign that you can't understand why someone's never experienced the outdoors?
Mm-hmm.
So you have to be open-minded about it because we do come from different parts of society. We do have different goals. We were raised differently. But, I mean, I love your story. You know, you were raised in the country, which gives you an outdoor feel, but practically anti-hunting to begin with.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And, boy, it's beyond full circle. I don't even know how you describe it. But
Yeah, I know.
when you talk about the outdoors, you just light up. So
Yeah.
it has become a major part of your life. And, that's why I encourage people to try it and get into it because it really can change your life and how you look at things.
Absolutely. And I think there's something to be said, as far as I know that kind of we're the first generation that's been able to deal with like talking openly about things like mental health and stuff like that.
Right.
And there's something massive there as far as, like you were saying, the ability to provide for your family, right? I mean, even just like if you look into like men's psychology and how, you know, when they lose their jobs or we're not making enough money, how that affects, you know, it's the exact same thing, right? This is providing at its base, right? And there are people who just get so much fulfillment mentally from just being able to provide for their family and know where it came from and know that it was honest and know, you know, that's something huge for a lot of people.
Right. I have a friend that suffers terribly from PTSD, and I reintroduced him to the outdoors, and he calls it his outdoor medicine 365.
Mm-hmm.
And when he's having a bad day, that's what he does. He forces himself to get back outdoors. And it's exactly what you're talking about. Mental health and how to fix it. The best medicine is right in front of us. We just have to take advantage of it.
Yeah, 100%.
You know, back to mentoring, I'd like to mention Harvest Your Own again. They've been a great tool. They pull together all the different organizations in Alberta. They promote hunting as a whole, whether you're a youth, a first-time hunter, women in the outdoors, and deliver messages for seasoned hunters. So again, we'll just provide a bit of a roadmap where people can find more information.
This podcast was made possible by Alberta Conservation Association and the Harvest Your Own community. If you're interested in harvesting your own food, there's a comprehensive collection of information. To gain insight and knowledge, head to the field, harvest your own protein, prepare it, and taste the results. HarvestYourOwn.ca is a library of information from getting started and geared up to processing, butchering, and cooking wild game to make the connection between health and food.
And there's that connection, health and food and the outdoors.
Good timing, Brad.
Great segue. How'd that happen? What's your favorite wild game?
Duck.
Duck.
Oh, but turkey. I went on my first turkey hunt last year. Oh my gosh, I'm addicted. They're just the funnest. Like who people say it's like a poor man's elk hunt.
Right.
Oh my God, it's like a rich man's elk hunt. I would rather hunt turkey than elk. Oh my gosh, it was so fun.
It's hard. It's hard to believe we have to wait like 12 years to get drawn in Alberta. But
you
know what people don't realize is that we have great opportunities across Canada. And you didn't shoot your first turkey in Alberta. You shot it
in Ontario. Yeah, 100%.
And, there's great opportunities for us to do that. And Albertans can also buy a turkey tag across the counter in BC every year. And I know several buddies that go and they're probably like, oh, Brad, why did you have to mention that? But this is about sharing and caring.
Exactly, right. Just think of it this way. I always try and think of it this way. Like a lot of people, I'll say the same thing. Like, oh, everybody's got to go for this animal here. And people will be like, Emily, come on. I'm like, okay. Whatever animal that it may take away from your area, think about like all the economic revenue that you're getting.
Right.
The gas stations, the hotels. I don't know. It softens the blow a little bit.
It does. And I don't think people think about that really. Like, I know I spend money on hunting and in every corner of Alberta, more than likely. I don't think about that. I'm always planning on what I can harvest, where I can use it, people I can treat to a special meal. And I think that's what it's all about. You brought some fancy stuff today, and I was actually going to have you talk more about locavores and collecting wild.
Which is, you're the first person who's ever called me a locavore, which is like, I don't know.
Is that a compliment?
I think so.
Yes.
Yes, we're deciding that it is.
You're collecting wild goodies from your backyard and abroad.
Yeah. So again, it's just about that connection, right?
Feed your soul.
When I started thinking about the easiest ways for people to get excited about something, right?
Yeah.
It was like you were saying, I'd have people over and I'd make, something like kitschy, like I said, like dandelion shortbread, and people would be like, this is amazing. And I'd be like, oh, just put some dandelions and some shortbread. But again, like, even if it's just that thing. And so I started doing more of that. I mean, to be honest, less for myself, but more, it's just a really easy way to show people, just like, again, we did a video on dandelion, foraging. 3 recipes you can do with dandelions, right?
Right.
Who can't find a dandelion? Anybody in Alberta can.
You don't have to look far.
And you can go to your backyard. You're not having to travel, spend money. And again, it's just that little step that's like, hey, it was so cool when Emily made dandelion cookies, but like everybody can do that, right?
Yes, and you brought fireweed syrup today.
I did. So yeah, I was with a couple of really good friends of mine down on their trap line, and so we found like the Mac Daddy of strawberry patches. Like wild strawberries are my favorite thing ever.
Oh, absolutely. We have lots in the yard here. The girls love them.
So we made fireweed and wild strawberry syrup.
Oh.
And like, legit. Again, like so good.
Yes.
And it's just like on the ground.
You also brought white spruce tip shortbread cookies.
Yes.
And, my wife and I collect spruce tips every spring. We love them. We make jelly. We make syrup. We make simple syrup for making a Manhattan.
Ooh,
And,
dang.
oh, yeah. We've made the shortbread before, but I've also pickled them, and they're like capers. And then you can use them in all kinds of recipes where you'd use capers and stuff. And I find it such a nice accompaniment for wild game that it's often overlooked. But the thing I love about your foraging and your locavore enthusiasm is it gets people outdoors.
Exactly.
And
right?
to me, when I'm outdoors, it actually opens the door for more hunting, because if I'm out picking choke cherries or rose hips or fireweed.
Whoops, scouting by accident.
Oh, exactly. There's some elk tracks. Look at that trail over here.
Exactly.
A tree stand could go up there. So
yeah, it leads to so much, right? And even just for me, like, I mean, I'm an avid outdoorsman or woman or person.
Yep.
But
you don't have to identify on this show.
Thank you. But, even when I go out to forage something, I always find something new. Like last year, there's this weed that grows in my yard, and I was picking clovers for tea or something. And I'm like, man, what is this weed? It's pineapple weed. It's like the coolest thing ever. And I was like, oh, like you can eat this. And so like you can learn. It just always leads to something else. There's no shortage of things to learn.
Right. And those weeds make great tea, by the way, if you dry them out. And plantain is very abundant right now, and there's lots of plantain growing on the edge of our driveway, and most people just weed it out, but it's actually a great source of greens. They're right there in front of you.
And that's the funny thing, is that I find like foraging again is an intimidating one, because you see the posts and it's morels, right? Morels and mushroom. People are like, oh my god, I don't want to die if I pick a mushroom, right? But like it doesn't have to be just that. Like you can just pick a flower, and that there's so much stuff that's, like you said, just growing on the edge of your driveway, right?
And really, this is the time of year to really take advantage of it. It's just like people's gardens. Late summer, early fall, things begin to ripen, come full circle, and same in the great outdoors. Whether it's berries and plants and fireweed and rose hips and all that stuff is available, but.
And here's the amazing part about foraging is that you don't have to be good at gardening. The reason that I forage so much is because like no one's ever been worse at growing plants than me.
I might steal that from you because I think that's brilliant. Yeah. I love to garden too, but Nature's Bounty doesn't require you to weed.
Exactly. And I used to think that I liked gardening. I was like, but anytime I was doing it, I was like really mad. Like I was like weeding, and I was like, I don't think I like gardening. I just think I like eating after. So I was like, let's just skip to the eating part.
And that's what the show is all about, is finding something outdoors, whether you're foraging, hunting, harvest your own. Emily, it has been a gas having you on the show. I know we're going to have you back to talk about other things in the future, but a lot of insight. I hope people reach out to you with Canis Outdoors and bring things to the table where they can help educate people, and those people interested in getting started or getting a group or a community effort or continuing education, they should look you up.
100%, yeah. And thank you so much for having me. This is my very first podcast ever.
Awesome.
And I'm very excited. Yeah, I was super excited when you contacted me.
Well, I love your enthusiasm. It is very contagious, and I know the listeners are going to love it as well. So
good, I hope so.
Thanks for coming in, and we'll have you back soon.
Okay, thanks so much. We'll see you outside.
We hope to inspire people to reconnect with nature and appreciate where your food comes from by harvesting your own. For more information on getting started or to learn specifics about the Field to Fork experience, visit harvestyourown.ca and follow on Facebook and Instagram. Check back often for new material, recipes, and videos that are posted regularly. Please subscribe to Harvest Your Own podcast and take the time to rate and review the show to help us build a dedicated core of passionate hunters as our regular audience. Until next time, embrace the outdoors and all it has to offer. Thanks for joining us.